We all have a common goal. There's houses to sell and there's buyers that need them. And as long as everybody plays fair and works toward the same direction, it should have nothing but a good outcome.
Welcome to New Home Made Simple, where we make everything about buying and building a new home make sense. I am Cyndie Roche, and I am your host today. We are going to talk about how a realtor and what role a realtor plays in buying a new construction home. So let's imagine for a second you've decided that you are actually going to buy a new home. And do you or do you not bring a realtor into the mix? And I think there's a lot of things that a realtor can do to help you if that's the type of help you need. And we want to talk through ways that they help. And I imagine we'll touch on a few things that maybe they could leave for you to do, but we'll get some of our experts to help us here. I am, again, Cyndie Roche. I probably heard me talk way too much by now, but I'm going to introduce you guys to Linda Boehmer.
Hi, I'm Linda Boehmer. I am with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices Select Properties, and I am a partner with Kelly Boehmer on the Boehmer Team.
Yay!
And we have a long history in both new construction and resale homes, over 50 combined years, which sounds like a long time, but we've been doing new construction a long time, and about 10 years ago we transitioned into brokerage, and we love the real estate industry, and we love new construction.
Well, and you've been a partner with me for a long time.
Yes, we have.
And the number one reason for me personally, if I just speak to your reputation, is that you've been such an advocate for not only the home builder, but also the realtor and the buyers, that I think that's really what the market needs, is that balance, so that we're all making good decisions for each other. I really feel like that's one of the problems we ran into in the 2000s, was it was too skewed one way or the other. And now here you are, not only having been a home builder, having been a real estate agent, but also built new yourself.
That's true, and there has always been somewhat of a divide and somewhat of a misdirection, and my opinion as well as Kelly's, and we always work towards, we all have a common goal. There's houses to sell and there's buyers that need them, and as long as everybody plays fair and works toward the same direction, it should have nothing but a good outcome.
I'm glad you said that, because I think that's one of the reasons why we chose to partner with you for so long, but also why I feel like it's important to really do this podcast, because we have buyers that come in and think, it'll get a better deal if I don't have a realtor.
Yes.
Or I have to have a realtor to protect myself. And I think either answer is wrong. You need one if you feel like you need one. And if you feel like you have to protect yourself from your home builder, then you really got to think about, is that the right home builder for you?
That is true. And something that's developed over the last several years is the introduction of the TV advice. We used to just have family advice and friends advice, and we heard commercials and watched TV, but now we've got these home shows. Yeah. And some of these home shows give pretty skewed advice, really, especially if they're shot in California or they're shot somewhere.
Because
not in our market. And real estate laws do change from state to state, but we are a trusted advocate. You hit on it perfectly. If they feel like they need the direction, the help, the support, and they feel a little bit misguided, not so much by a builder, but just in their own decisions, there is a value there, and
Absolutely.
We hope to do that. And you need to earn that sale, and the trust. Everybody needs to earn the trust of everybody. But the advice is great in that if you feel like you need that. That support, that is, but the important thing is you find a realtor that really understands the world of new construction and understands the pros and cons, not so much cons, there are no cons, but the advantages to them as a buyer.
Yeah,
to buy a new home.
Let's talk about that for a second. I know that's one of the topics we were going to discuss, which is finding a realtor that truly understands new construction. Right. So I have my own thoughts. I'll pitch that one to you, and let's see what you got.
I just think the role of the realtor in that new construction atmosphere is somewhat a little bit misunderstood, as we talked. We hear a lot of times where a client will call us and they've already met with other realtors, and they've been told by the other realtor that, if you go, you have to go in there with me. You have to have my legal protection. Well, we're not attorneys and we don't offer legal protection, but we do look at their wants, needs, desires, and goals and help them supporting their desires and goals and needs in making them move in and helping them move in the right direction.
Yeah.
So we find at the end of a new home construction sale that client is so grateful. Thank you so much for thinking of the things we didn't think of. Because when they're purchasing a new home, their mind is reeling with all the things you spoke about in the previous podcast. The lot they choose, the finishes they choose, the floor plan they choose. Will their parents like it? Will their kids like it?
Yeah.
And boy, they do love a helpful, qualified person there to keep them on the straight and narrow.
I love that. So, we run into realtors that come into our offices and they think that their number one goal is to help negotiate the deal.
Absolutely.
And I would just like to point out that, and certainly this is a little bit self-serving, but I think it's also logical and understandable that if one person comes in and they buy the house, but they decide to upgrade the granite to $20,000 specialty granite shipped in from Brazil, that house is going to cost more than the house next door that chose Formica for their countertops. And as a result, the houses are going to price differently. But that was a real cost for really shipping in blue granite from Brazil, which is the only country you can get it from. So that person has to pay for that because that's not normal and it's not logical. Well, that could trickle down to any of those options. And I feel like one of the ways that realtors can help understand buyers' needs, but also help get through the transaction is to help a buyer realize that there really are costs for things and that that's logical and reasonable.
That's a great point. When we attend an agent luncheon, we are always a little surprised at the overall lack of understanding of the realtor to know what the true features and upgrades in that home cost.
Yeah.
And we're a little bit, spoiled, I guess, because Kelly and I both had so many years in the new construction field, but there is a cost incurred on that. And the role of a realtor is not, nor should it be, nor has it ever been, to get your clients a better deal, at least in our world. And we do a lot of teaching in a lot of classes, and we always try to bridge that gap and tell people if you're selling yourself is to get them a better deal, really rethink that. Number one, it's ethically wrong. It's wrong. And you're selling against something that isn't factual, like hard cost of building a home.
We as a home builder, and I'll speak from a home builder since that's where I sit today, we want everybody to have an amazing experience in a home they love, right? Because we're going to see you in the grocery store. We literally want you to still say hi to us. But at the same time, if we're going to go buy the $20,000 granite from Brazil, we wouldn't have bought it without you ordering it. So at some point, we need everybody to understand. We'll go do it. We'll order it. We'll get it. We'll pay in advance for it. But it's hard when the realtor comes in thinking, okay, I'm just going to beat you up, because then it just makes the whole thing contentious. So let's turn the corner and let's talk about ways that they really can help, because, gosh, you guys have been wonderful in representing some of the clients.
Thank you.
Okay, so a realtor that knows what their buyer wants.
A realtor that knows what their buyer wants, the value comes in, we always let the buyer and the builder, the professional representative, find their way. We we help them understand communities up front before we even visit. Communities, locations, school districts,
there you go.
Amenities, what's important to you. Does your house need to face a certain direction? Do you want ranches? Do you want 2 stories? Do you need a 3-car? Do you need a walkout? All the things. Once we hone down and we get into a community and a product that's right for the client, we tend to let the sales professional find their way with the buyer. We sit back, we listen, we hear what they're exchanging, and then our value really comes in filling the bridge and asking some questions. And usually we have a buyer consultation in advance. So we've helped them, we talk quite a bit about new construction in that consultation, but help them understand what is going to give their house more value, maybe help maintain the value.
Yeah.
What might be valuable to them, but not to the buyer behind them.
So
and
true.
Sometimes that's okay, as long as we've done our job. And we always tell our clients, our goal is for you to love your home. And if for some reason you had to sell in the next 3 to 5 years, when you call us, we're not going to eat crow because we just pushed and pushed and pushed. So it's really to help them make a value-driven, lifestyle-driven decision. We always try to look over the paperwork because some of the questions, there's a lot when the decision is made, there's a lot of anxiety, as I talked about, and a lot of happiness. And we know the paperwork, we're versed in the paperwork, and any agent really doing this should get a copy of every paper they're signing and understand that. Because when those questions come back up, the builder is always going to say, as they should, we talked about that and we signed on that.
Yeah.
And you really look silly as an agent to say,
We could do a whole podcast on just reading paperwork because that's so true. I mean, I think this is an industry. We're a world right now where terms and conditions is an easy scroll to the bottom and check X. And okay, it's probably fine. And I would say we run into that as well, where buyers don't realize the fine print really is there specifically so that we're all on the same page. But having your realtor be there to know what's important to you, and you touched on this, if you've come to the community and you already know you have to have a 3-car garage, you have to have 3 bedrooms, you have to have a walkout basement so that you can have a future bedroom down there, or whatever it might be, all of those needs and wants prior to coming in and sitting down and pricing out a house is so super helpful, because your buyer, if you can imagine, without that representation, may not know what the options are.
right? And oftentimes they'll take what is a must-have, and that must-have turns into I can live without because I love this so much. And that's all fine after good conversation.
Sure.
That's really
That's the
fine.
key. That really is the key.
So then I think they will turn to us as agents and say, do you think, this will affect my value or this will affect my resale? And I think then we can add our value there. And just understanding the lot. There's so much misunderstanding on what the finished lot is going to look like versus the purchase lot. And just there's so many ways.
There's 2 things there that you touch on. Visualization is very difficult. There's people that can do it, close their eyes and see it perfectly. And then there's those that can't.
Most can't on the ground.
Yeah, and especially when you're looking at a piece of dirt, it literally is a piece of dirt, and you're trying to visualize where your landscape bed's going to go, or your play set's going to go, or how is the house going to sit, and what direction is my front door going to open to. Your realtor's seen houses in every situation, so they can help.
Yeah, and oftentimes the clients will tend to, because they feel like they look a little misinformed, they'll act like they're comfortable in the sales office.
Yeah.
And when we leave, that phone starts ringing. What did you, and so it's really important that you take an active role and you be present as a realtor, and you don't try to bully your way through the sale. You're there to assist. And so it is important that when you get those calls after the appointment, that you can answer the questions and you understand everything that was signed and talked about.
That I want to touch on that just a little bit, because I think every home builder is different, right? There's different cultures. I had a job at one point where I had 152 builder clients. So you see the good, the bad, and the, oh my gosh, that was ridiculous. But some of those clients really showed me what it was like to be a buyer advocate. And in those cases, the realtors almost took this huge step back because they just felt like they didn't need to insert themselves. On the flip side, I've seen builders where they couldn't have been an advocate for the buyer because they were so concerned about their own dollars. So that finding the right advocate for you. I used to say, if you don't feel comfortable to sit down and have a beer with your home builder, then you shouldn't build a home with them. But that's one of the reasons why a realtor can help bridge that if it's the perfect location or the perfect school district. They can be there for you.
That's true.
And visualize it, because not everybody can. So, okay, selling their house. This is one question we get asked all the time.
Okay.
I have a house to sell. How am I going to get from where I'm at to getting a new home?
The first thing that we recommend is that the buyer get in touch with a lender, a professional lender.
Sure.
That will give them the basis on the rest of their decisions. And I feel comfortable, saying you call a trusted lender and you ask the questions, do you have to sell your current home?
Do you have to?
Do you have to sell your current home? Have to and want to, 2 completely different things. And we don't push the issue there. We have many clients who can, but aren't comfortable there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes falling in love with the right new construction to gather that comfort, to get to that comfort level. And we let nature take its course there. But if you start with a lender, then you know if you can or can't. And if you can, then you move in a different direction. If you can, 9 times out of 10, people will take the risk. They will start their new construction. They will save on a double move. If they can't, then there's a couple different choices, but the main thing is to get that home on the market, get it priced right, get it with the best marketing agents in town, and see how the market responds to the pricing. With this decision and in this direction, your choice is to either sell and make a double move, which is usually the case. Our advice is almost always to get it closed as quick as possible, because once it's closed, you have the green light to move forward, which is what your builder's going to want. Every once in a while, we run into a situation where we find a buyer that will let them close and lease back.
Oh, wow.
Which is a dream for the client selling their home. It's not always a dream if there's problems along the way, but there are several options we don't let it become a bigger problem than it is. We really look at their options, and it kind of takes care of itself.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's interesting. And so I want to talk about the preferred lender for just a second, because I know I have my own experiences, and we'll do a whole podcast episode on preferred lending, because it's
very important.
Passionate about new construction preferred lending. But do you recommend a lender for your clients?
We do. We always have. We try to keep about 3 preferred lenders.
Why 3?
Why 3? Because lenders' personalities is one.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Lenders' abilities are 2. Some do
products.
in-house underwriting, different products. Smaller companies can portfolio loans and do them in-house, where other brokers don't have that.
We'll talk about
They'll cover
that later.
this later. But because of the variation in products, personalities, even down to the point where their central office is locating to drop off documents. So we do keep a list. We keep a fairly close list, although we can't direct anybody exactly where to go. But I agree with you in that a great trusted lender takes one of the biggest opportunities for problems out of the ball game.
Yeah, again, we're going to do a whole podcast on this, but the one thing I try to tell people is that it doesn't go wrong until the check doesn't show up while the moving truck's outside. Yeah. And so thank you. I appreciate you expanding on that, because I hadn't.
If you look at the things that can go wrong,
that's not
financing
the time.
is a big one. So let's find good people. Let's nip it in the bud. Let's have great communication, and it will definitely make for a better transaction.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, so we have 2 more topics that we're going to cover before we let all these fine people back to their days. Inventory versus building.
Inventory versus building.
So helping one of your clients decide, are they going to buy a home that a home builder has already built, or are they going to go through the building process?
Totally comes down to the buyer, and oftentimes that decision is made at the sale of their existing home.
True.
Oftentimes they sell their home, and their dreams of building just seemed a little overwhelming, and they went, when we can go to blankety blank and they have a great house sitting there ready to move into. So we've sold enough homes to really look at the pros and cons, not really cons once again, but of buying an inventory home. And oftentimes it is such a smart choice. But if you are pickier in your taste and you're visualizing your home is your forever home and one little thing will skew that, then you need to build.
Okay.
We always tell people you should never feel like you settled. Yeah. Settling when you're spending any amount of money, especially in the price of a home, we don't want our clients to feel like they settled. So they have to really look at that inventory home and say, this is really advantageous to me. Number one, I love it. I love the finishes. I love the direction it sits. It's in the school district I want. And it's a little more advantageous for me financially. I'm going to do this. It puts me into a bracket that I'm get a little more house for my money.
Then there's really 2 points on that. Because the inventory home started construction 4, 5, 6 months prior, construction costs were different back then. And I don't know that everybody really realizes when we order a house, when we send all the purchase orders out, it's on today's bill. Well, just like at the grocery store or the gas station, when prices go up, when you order the house went up. So that inventory home could be thousands of dollars less than if you were going to build that same house the way it sits today. So there's instant savings right there.
There is, and I think there's 2 other things. Builders have gotten smarter. They take their most popular features and their most popular plans and their most popular finishes, and they put those in houses. So builders you guys have done a phenomenal job of doing that. So that's the number one. And number 2 is if you get a stickler on concrete, if you get a stickler on countertops or cabinets, seeing is believing.
Yeah.
So in many cases, an inventory home takes the what ifs out for that nervous buyer.
That's true.
And they walk in and they're like, I don't have any what ifs. I see my concrete, I see my cabinets, and I'm really buying this under market rate. I see my yard, I see the grading. So there's a lot, and now it's sometimes they see their, the neighborhood growing around them. So oftentimes it is a very good choice for the buyers.
So that your perfect lead in, because that was the second thing I was going to say, which is for people that have a harder time visualizing the design appointment or picking out all their finishes can feel a little overwhelming. And in an inventory home, it's all there, so they don't have to think about it.
It's a lot of decisions to make.
It is, and we have a designer to help, but you're still. Oh, does that brick go with that stone, or does that exterior color go with the one next door? How is this going to look? That's a lot of what ifs, and an inventory home can sometimes calm those fears. So, okay, before we wrap this up, any topic that you wanted to bring to the table?
No, I just think that, just listen, use your ears and listen to what the communication of your client and that home builder is saying. Look for red flags of misunderstanding because preparation and misunderstanding and lack of communication are really the root of most of the problems.
Exactly.
So if you're a good set of ears, and if something doesn't maybe seem exactly right, pick the right time to talk to them about it, evaluate it, and I think that it should be a great relationship. Everybody should be better as a result of that transaction. Nobody should benefit more than the other.
That should be a goal for life.
That should be a goal for life.
Yeah.
It's like a marriage or a job in many. It should be better for everybody coming out of that transaction.
I totally agree with you. Good
So,
job. All right.
you.
So I'm going to wrap this up for this episode, but I want to thank everybody for being here. And remember, we have our Facebook group, New Home Made Simple, on Facebook, as well as email us with info@newhomemadesimple.com. We are looking forward to your feedback, and we will connect with you and get you more information about the next upcoming episodes. Take care.
Thank you.